Hey everyone, this is Mr. Elke, and today I'm going to be talking about converting rates. So first off, if you've not seen my video of converting units, it's my last video. You should definitely watch that. Otherwise, a lot of the stuff I'm going to go through in this video isn't going to make a ton of sense. So I mean, it should, but I go over a different way of converting units in that video. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. I'll leave a link to that in the description of this video. And yeah, today we're going to be talking about converting rates. So rates is things like kilometers per hour, miles per hour, dollars per kilogram, like when you're at the grocery store shopping for produce or whatever. You'll hear the word per in there, and pretty much one way of thinking of this is thinking of these units like a fraction. I mean, it is a fraction, right? Miles over hours, miles over minutes, kilometers over minutes. Everything we're working with today is fractions, okay? And that's fine. And the way we're going to approach these problems today is we're going to use those skills from the last video where we're converting units. And we're pretty much going to be doing two separate conversions where everything's kind of lined up nicely as a fraction. So yeah, let's get into it. I'm going to do a few examples just to show you how this works. And then I'm actually going to do an example of something I did in real life, in the real world, just the other day, related to like my training for my marathon here. It has to do with time and distance and whatever. I'll get into that later. But first, let's look at a really common conversion that we see: kilometers per hour to miles per hour. So you might have noticed in Canada, when we're driving, we do everything by kilometers per hour. But in the States, they do speed by miles per hour. So this is a pretty useful conversion that you see quite a bit, especially for driving. So yeah, let's just get into this one. Let's convert 50 kilometers per hour into miles per hour, and then we'll do that second one right after. So I have a few just kind of quick conversions that we'll need today. Miles into kilometers and hours into minutes, okay? Miles being the larger unit, okay? So there's going to be more kilometers in 1 mile because a mile is longer than a kilometer. Same thing with minutes and hours. An hour is longer than a minute, so we're going to have more minutes in 1 hour. Again, a lot of that I go over in the last video. So yeah, let's just set everything up here. So here's where fractions come into play. So 50 kilometers per hour. So one way you can think of this is like any number, any whole number, you can write as a fraction over 1, right? Hopefully you've seen that by now. And when you're setting it up this way, the rate kind of goes with it. So the kilometers would be in the numerator and the hours would be in the denominator, okay? So kilometers per hour, when you hear that word per, think of that as like the line. Numerator per denominator, okay? So we have 50 kilometers in 1 hour, and we're going to be converting this into something. Miles per hour. So the unit for time is in the denominator, and you can see it's actually the same one, okay? So hours in the denominator here, hours in the denominator over there. Nothing's going to change in the denominator. So it's only the numerator we're going to mess with for this example. We're going to go from kilometers to miles in the numerator here. Actually, we can just write a 1 in the denominator because we know nothing's going to change with the unit of time. It's the unit of distance in the numerator that's going to change. So there are more kilometers in a mile, right? So we're going to the larger unit. And just like we did in the last video, if we're going to go to the larger unit, we would expect to have less of them. So we're going to be dividing by 1.6. Okay, we should have less miles in relation to kilometers, okay? There should be a decimal there. Again, check out the last video if you haven't already. That's going to clear up a lot of this if this is a bit confusing. And yeah, we'll just work that out. So 50 divided by 1.6, that gets me 31.25. I'm not even going to round this. And we're pretty much done this problem. Just one really small step at the end here. Just for my final answer, since this is over 1, there really isn't anything we have to work out. So let's just rewrite it as just as a regular number, so not a fraction. So it's 31.25 miles per hour. So in 50 kilometers per hour, we will have 31.25 miles per hour. So there you go. You'll see in the next example, we're actually going to have a different number in the denominator. And that just means we'll have one more calculation to do at the very end. So yeah, let's work out that second one now. My next example is kind of popping up on the screen there. It's fine. I just needed a bit more room to work with. So 50 kilometers per hour into miles per minute. So yeah, this one's kind of interesting because we're actually changing the unit of time as well. And let's just grab this here because we already have it into miles in the numerator. So we're already halfway done the second problem. So yeah, I'm just going to rewrite it here. And just like we did with the last one, let's put that unit of distance in the numerator. And this is all in 1 hour, right? But the thing is, we're actually changing the unit of time now, okay? We're going to be changing this into minutes, whereas nothing's going to happen. Oh, I wrote kilometer by mistake. My bad. Let me fix that. Miles. So yeah, nothing's going to change in the numerator because we want miles per minute now. It's going to be the unit of time in the denominator that's changing. And that's going to be changing to minutes. So if we take a look at our conversions here, 1 hour has 60 minutes. We're going to the smaller unit this time, so we actually expect to have more of them. So we are going to multiply by 60. Okay, once again, this is something I cover in the last video. 1 times 60 is 60, and since nothing happened to our unit of distance, miles, we can just rewrite it. So here's what I was talking about. We actually have a calculation to do here. In order to simplify this, we can just work out in our calculator 31.25 divided by 60, and that will turn this into miles per minute, and we won't have a fraction anymore. So a lot of the time when you're converting the denominator, there's usually a step you'll have to do at the very end. Okay, so we're just going to work out that last calculation now. 31.25 divided by 60. That gets us, and I'll just round to the nearest hundredth for this, 0.52 miles per minute. And we'd expect to get a small number too. Like, this makes sense. You're going to obviously travel a farther distance in an hour than you're going to travel in a minute. So this number makes sense. This is definitely correct. And as promised, I have a real life example here. Here, let's zoom in a little bit just so we can see that a bit better. So the treadmill at Mr. Elke's gym tracks in miles per hour, okay? However, I usually track my running in minutes per kilometer. So the treadmill at the gym is miles per hour, but my watch, when I track the distance, it's by minutes by kilometer. And I prefer minutes per kilometer. That's how I like tracking things, just personally. So what is the minute per kilometer rate if the treadmill speed is in miles per hour? I knew I would make a typo. Miles per hour. So we are pretty much going from 6 miles per hour into minutes per kilometer. Now, this is an interesting example because there's actually an extra step we have to do. And we can do this at the very start, or we can do this near the end, but let's get it out of the way now. So notice how the unit of distance is in the numerator here, but it's in the denominator here. So miles per hour, minutes per kilometer. So it's pretty much flipped. And one nice thing about rates is you can just flip it as well, as long as you make sure the numerator and denominator get flipped as well. So what I mean by that, just as kind of an extra step here, right now we have the distance in the numerator and the time in the denominator. We can just flip this by finding the reciprocal. So fancy math words for you there. But that's okay. We can totally just flip this. So 1/6 hours per mile. And now we have the time in the numerator and the distance in the denominator. Sorry, I'm writing it out a little weird for this one, but and that should say miles. Sorry, I keep messing this up. Here, I'll do that. Okay. So now we have time in the numerator, distance in the denominator. That's kind of the tough step in this case, if you ask me. So now we need to go from hours to minutes. So once again, we're going to the smaller unit, so we are going to expect to multiply this time. So 1 hour times 60 minutes. And in the denominator, we're going from miles to kilometers, and we're going to expect to have more kilometers because miles is a larger unit. So this one was 1.6. If you're wondering where I'm getting these numbers from, these are just from the conversions from earlier. Right there. There you go. And let's work this out. So there's actually a calculation going on in both the numerator and the denominator. So 1 times 60, that'll get us 60 minutes. So pretty easy there. And then 6 times 1.6, I'm going to use my calculator for this. 9.6. Now we are not done just yet. So that is, that should say minutes. And then kilometers in the denominator. Now we're almost done. We still have to work out 60 divided by 9.6 just to simplify this a bit more. So 60 divided by 9.6, that gets us 6.25 minutes per kilometer. And if you want to take this a step further as well, actually, I wasn't planning on this. This kind of popped into my head right now. You can turn this into seconds if you want, minutes and seconds, because that's usually how we measure time, right? 6 minutes, 30 seconds, or whatever. So if you really want to take this further, one thing you can do, so 0.25, that's just a quarter of something, right? And what's a quarter of a minute? It's 15 seconds. So another way you can rewrite this is 6 minutes and 15 seconds per kilometer, if you want to take this a step further. And when I track this in my watch, that's how the time is displayed. Because again, usually when we track time, it's minutes and seconds, or hours and minutes when we're just looking at a regular clock. So there you go. Anyways, I hope this video helped. I know there was a lot in there. Again, if you haven't checked out my video on converting units, that is in the description of this video. I recommend you check it out. And yeah, thanks for watching.